Introduction: Reclaiming Your Life. Imagine waking up next Monday morning without an alarm clock. The room is quiet. The sun is just starting to peek through the curtains. There is no knot of dread in your stomach. There is no mental checklist of urgent emails racing through your mind before your feet even hit the floor. You stretch, take a deep breath, and realize something profound. Your time finally belongs entirely to you. This isn't a fantasy. It isn't a daydream reserved for lottery winners or the ultra-wealthy. This is the reality waiting for you on the other side of the decision you are holding in your hands right now. Welcome to the Resignation Roadmap. If you are listening to this, I already know something about you. You are tired. And I don't just mean the kind of tired that a good night's sleep can fix. I'm talking about a soul-deep exhaustion. You are tired of trading the best hours of your day, the best days of your week, and the best years of your life for a paycheck that barely covers the cost of your stress. You're likely dealing with the Sunday Scaries, that creeping anxiety that starts right around 4 p.m. on Sunday afternoon, ruining the last few hours of your weekend because you know Monday is coming. Maybe you have a boss who doesn't respect your boundaries, or perhaps you're just bored, stuck in a role that feels like it's slowly deleting your creativity and ambition. You've probably thought about quitting 100 times. You've typed out the resignation letter in your head while commuting. You've looked at job boards during your lunch break. But then the fear kicks in. The mortgage, the car payments, the health insurance. The voice in the back of your head that asks, who are you to want more? You should be grateful just to have a job. So you stay. You push those feelings down, you put on your work face, and you grind through another week, and another, and another. But here is the hard truth that we need to confront right now. The cost of staying is higher than the cost of leaving. When you stay in a job that drains you, you aren't just losing time, you are losing yourself. The stress accumulates in your body. It shows up as high blood pressure, insomnia, irritability with your spouse, or a lack of patience with your kids. It shows up as that lingering feeling that you are missing out on your own life. This audiobook is your permission slip to stop. But more importantly, it is your battle plan. We are not talking about storming into your boss's office tomorrow morning, flipping a desk and walking out with zero plan and zero savings. That makes for a great movie scene, but it makes for a terrible life strategy. Recklessness is not freedom. Recklessness is just a different kind of trap. What we are going to build together over the next few hours is a comprehensive, bulletproof strategy to fire your boss the right way. We are going to replace panic with preparation. We are going to replace someday with a concrete date on the calendar. Here is exactly what we're going to do. First, we are going to conduct a Sunday Scaries audit. We need to get crystal clear on what is actually driving you away so we don't just replicate the same problem in your next chapter. We need to distinguish between a bad week and a bad career. Then, we are going to tackle the biggest obstacle standing between you and your freedom: fear. We're going to use principles from Stoic philosophy to dismantle your worst-case scenarios. You will see that the monster in the closet isn't actually that scary when you turn the lights on. We're going to get into the numbers. I'm going to show you how to calculate your freedom number. This is the specific amount of money you need in the bank to walk away with confidence. It's probably a lot less than you think. We'll talk about building an income bridge, a way to validate a side hustle or freelance income before you ever hand in your notice, so you aren't jumping off a cliff, but rather stepping onto a bridge you build yourself. We'll play the role of the HR detective. We'll dive into the boring but critical stuff like contracts, non-competes, and benefits. I want to make sure you don't leave a single dollar on the table when you walk out that door. Then we get tactical. How do you actually resign? I'm going to give you the scripts, not generic advice, but word-for-word scripts on what to write in your letter and exactly what to say in that terrifying meeting with your boss. We will prepare you for the counter-offer trap, where companies try to buy you back with guilt and money, and I'll tell you exactly why you must say no. Finally, we'll cover how to handle your notice period with class so you protect your reputation, how to survive the emotional detox of your first few weeks of freedom, and how to build the mindset of someone who never has to go back to a cubicle again. This is a complete system. By the time you finish this audiobook, you won't just be motivated, you will be ready. You will have a plan that is safe, strategic, and undeniable. But I need you to make a commitment right now. Listening is passive. Changing your life is active. As we go through these chapters, I want you to treat this as a workshop. Take notes, do the calculations, draft the documents. There is a version of you living in the future who is free. They wake up when they want. They work on things that matter. They have energy for their family and their passions. That version of you is waiting for you to make a move. We are about to dismantle the cage bar by bar. If you are ready to stop dreaming about the exit and start walking towards it, if you are ready to reclaim your autonomy and fire your boss, then let's not waste another second. Let's begin the process.
Chapter 1. The Sunday Scaries Audit. Let's talk about Sunday afternoon. It's a beautiful day. Maybe you're out for a walk, or you're watching a movie, or you're just finishing up a late lunch. Then you glance at the clock. It's 4 p.m. Suddenly, the air in the room seems to get heavier, your stomach tightens, your mood shifts from relaxed to irritable. You start thinking about tomorrow morning's commute, the inbox waiting for you, the meeting with that one manager who never listens. This is the Sunday Scaries. And while it's become a bit of a meme on social media, something we joke about with crying emojis, it is actually a serious diagnostic tool. It's your body's way of screaming that something is wrong. Most people ignore this signal. They pour a glass of wine, binge watch another show to numb out the feeling, and drag themselves into Monday. But today, we are going to stop ignoring it. We are going to use it. In this chapter, we are going to perform an audit on your career. We need to determine if you are just going through a rough patch or if you are trapped in a dead-end situation that demands an immediate exit. We need to know if the house is just messy or if the house is on fire. Bad week versus bad career. The first step in this audit is distinguishing between a temporary struggle and a permanent problem. This is where many people get stuck. They think, well, every job has stress. Everyone hates their boss sometimes. I shouldn't be a quitter. Here is the truth. Yes, work can be hard, but there is a massive difference between good stress and toxic stress. Good stress is situational. It happens when you're working on a tight deadline for a project that you actually care about. You might be tired, you might work late, but there is a finish line. And when you cross that finish line, you feel a sense of accomplishment. You feel proud. Toxic stress is different. Toxic stress is systemic. It's the feeling of pushing a boulder up a hill only to have it roll back down every single night. Ask yourself this: is your unhappiness tied to a specific project with an end date, or is it tied to the culture, the leadership, and the fundamental nature of the work? If you can look at the calendar and say, this will be over by November 1st, you might just be having a bad month. But if you look at the calendar and realize that next year will look exactly like this year, only with higher quotas and less resources, you aren't having a bad week. You have a bad career. You need to look at the trajectory. If you look back at the last 6 months, has the ratio of good days to bad days improved? Or has it stayed exactly the same? If nothing has changed in 6 months, nothing will change in the next 6 years unless you make the change. Now let's move to the second part of the audit, the physical evidence. Your brain is very good at rationalizing. Your brain will tell you the pay is good, or the benefits are decent, or it's too risky to leave. Your brain lies to protect you from the fear of the unknown. But your body is incapable of lying. When you're in a toxic work environment, your body enters a chronic state of fight or flight. Evolution designed this response to save you from a tiger in the jungle. It dumps cortisol and adrenaline into your system so you can run. But you can't run from your email inbox. So that chemical cocktail just sits in your system, poisoning you from the inside out. Do a scan of your life right now. How is your sleep? Are you waking up at 3 a.m. staring at the ceiling? How is your digestion? Do you have chronic headaches or back pain that mysteriously disappears on Saturday morning and returns on Monday morning? I want you to pay attention to your personality too. Are you short with people you love? Do you find yourself snapping at your partner because the dishwasher wasn't loaded correctly? You aren't angry about the dishes. You are exhausted from holding up a mask of professionalism for 40, 50, or 60 hours a week. If your job is changing your personality, if it is making you a worse parent, a worse partner, or a less happy friend, that is a red alert. No paycheck is worth your personality. If you are trading your health for money, you're making a terrible investment, because eventually you will have to spend all that money trying to buy your health back. The opportunity cost of staying. The final part of our audit is the economic reality. We often stay in bad jobs because we are afraid of the cost of leaving. We worry about the gap in our resume or the loss of steady income. But what is the cost of staying? In economics, this is called opportunity cost. It's the value of what you lose when you choose one option over another. Every day you stay in a job that doesn't value you, you are losing money. You are losing the opportunity to earn a market rate salary somewhere else. Statistics show that employees who stay at a company for longer than 2 years get paid 50% less over their lifetime than those who switch jobs. Loyalty is essentially a tax on your own income. But the opportunity cost goes beyond money. It's about skills. If you're in a stagnant role, doing the same repetitive tasks, your skills are atrophying. The marketplace is moving forward, new technologies are emerging, and you are standing still. Every year you stay, you become less employable. You're not just maintaining the status quo, you're falling behind. And finally, there's the opportunity cost of your potential. What ideas are you not pursuing because you are too drained at the end of the day? What business are you not starting because you're mentally checking emails at the dinner table? We have this illusion that staying is the safe option, but staying is dangerous. Staying is a slow leak in your tire. You might be driving fine for now, but eventually you're going to find yourself stranded on the side of the road. So, looking at your audit, do you have the Sunday scaries? Is the stress chronic and systemic? Is your body showing signs of breakdown? And is the cost of staying higher than the risk of leaving? If you answered yes to these questions, then the verdict is in. This isn't a slump. It's time to go. Now, I can feel the tension rising in you. You might be thinking, okay, I get it. I need to leave. But I'm terrified. I have bills. I can't just jump. You are absolutely right. You shouldn't just jump. That's why in the next chapter, we aren't going to talk about recklessness. We are going to talk about fear. We are going to take that paralyzing fear sitting in your chest, put it on the table, and dismantle it piece by piece so you can move forward without shaking. Let's get to work.
Chapter 2. Fear setting versus goal setting. We have identified the problem. You know the job is toxic. You know the cost of staying is high. You know, logically, that you need to leave. So, why are you still there? The answer isn't laziness. It isn't a lack of ambition. It is fear. Fear is a biological mechanism designed to keep you safe. It loves the status quo, because the status quo, even if it's miserable, is predictable. Your brain looks at the unknown world of unemployment or entrepreneurship and sees a lion in the tall grass. It screams, "Don't go there, it's dangerous." Most self-help advice tells you to ignore the fear. They tell you to think positive or focus on your goals. They say, visualize your success. And while that's nice, it rarely works when you have a mortgage to pay. Optimism is fragile. Fear is primal. In this chapter, we are going to do something different. We aren't going to focus on goal setting. We are going to focus on fear setting. This is a technique derived from Stoic philosophy, popularized by thinkers like Seneca and Tim Ferriss. The Stoics understood that we suffer more in our imagination than in reality. The antidote to fear isn't optimism, it's clarity. We need to take the vague, terrifying monster in your head and trap it on a piece of paper. Defining your nightmares. I want you to try a practical exercise. You don't have to do it this second, but you need to do it today. Take a piece of paper and divide it into 3 columns. In the first column, I want you to write down your absolute worst-case scenario if you quit your job today. I don't mean, "I'll be sad." I mean, get specific. What actually happens? Maybe you run out of savings. Maybe you can't find another job for 3 months. Maybe you have to move back in with your parents or downsize your apartment. Maybe you have to sell your car. Write it all down. Go to the darkest place your mind visits at 3 a.m. Now look at that list. In the second column, write down everything you could do to prevent those things from happening. If you're afraid of running out of money, could you cut expenses now? Could you drive Uber on the weekends? Could you freelance? In the third column, write down how you would repair the damage if the worst case actually happened. If you lost your savings, could you get a bartending job to survive? Could you take a temporary corporate role just to restock the bank account? When you actually look at these nightmares on paper, you realize something powerful. None of them are fatal. They are uncomfortable, yes. They are embarrassing, maybe. But they are not death. You are employable. You are resourceful. If the experiment fails, you can always go back to a job. The worst case is usually just a temporary bruise to your ego, not a permanent destruction of your life. Now that we've looked at the nightmare, let's talk about why your brain clings to your current job. It's a psychological principle called loss aversion. Psychologists have found that humans feel the pain of losing something twice as intensely as the pleasure of gaining something. Losing $100 ruins your day, but finding $100 just makes you smile for a minute. We are hardwired to protect what we have, even if what we have isn't very good. You are clinging to your steady paycheck, your job title, and your daily routine because losing them feels dangerous. You are valuing what you are giving up far more than what you might gain: freedom, potential, happiness, and likely more money in the long run. To hack this, you have to flip the script. You have to stop looking at quitting as losing a job. Instead, you need to realize that by staying, you are currently losing something much more valuable. Every day you stay, you are losing autonomy. You are losing the chance to build your own asset. You are losing time, the one resource you can never earn back. When you reframe staying as the loss, your loss aversion bias starts to work in your favor. Suddenly, staying put feels like the dangerous option. The 5-year projection. Here is the final piece of the puzzle to break your paralysis. It's the cost of inaction. I want you to visualize your life 5 years from now. First, imagine you take the leap. You quit. It's rocky at first. Maybe you struggle for 6 months, but then you find your footing. You start a business or you find a career that aligns with your values. 5 years from now, you could be looking back at this moment as the turning point where everything changed. The upside is unlimited. Now, imagine the alternative. Imagine you don't quit. Imagine you decide it's too risky. Flash forward 5 years. You are still in the same office. You are sitting in the same chair. You are answering the same emails. You are 5 years older, 5 years more tired, and 5 years more bitter. Your salary might be a little higher, but the cost to your soul has compounded. Does that image scare you? It should. That is the real risk. The real risk isn't that you try and fail. The real risk is that you wake up in 5 years and realize you wasted your potential being miserable because you were too afraid to be uncomfortable for a few months. So look at your fear. Is it protecting you from physical danger? No. It is protecting you from uncertainty. But uncertainty is where growth happens. Once you strip away the vague anxiety, you are left with a simple math problem. Can you survive the transition? Do you have the resources to navigate the gap between your current job and your new life? That isn't a philosophical question. That is a financial one. And that is exactly what we are going to solve next. We are going to stop guessing and start calculating. In the next chapter, we are going to find your freedom number, the exact amount of cash you need to walk away without panic. It's time to look at the bank account.
Chapter 3. The Freedom Number. Let's talk about money. If fear is the emotional lock on the door to your freedom, money is the physical key. When I ask people why they haven't quit their miserable jobs yet, 90% of them give me the exact same answer. I can't afford it. It sounds like a fact, doesn't it? It sounds like a hard mathematical truth. But usually it's not. It's a feeling masquerading as a fact. Most people have a vague idea that they need a mountain of cash to quit. They think they need to replace their entire annual salary, or have a year's worth of expenses sitting in a savings account, or win the lottery. Because they haven't defined the number feels infinite, and you can't save up for infinity. So today, we are going to stop guessing. We are going to calculate your freedom number. This is the specific, finite dollar amount you need to have accessible to walk away from your job safely. Once you have this number, the goal stops being a fantasy and starts being a math problem. And math problems can be solved. Survival budget versus comfort budget. The first mistake people make is thinking they need to replace their current income. You don't. You need to cover your current outflow. And not even all of your outflow, just the essentials. To get your freedom number, we need to calculate your survival budget. I want you to open your bank statements from the last 3 months. We are going to categorize every single expense into 2 buckets: survival and comfort. The survival bucket is non-negotiable. This is your rent or mortgage, utilities, basic groceries, not the fancy organic aisle, but the fuel you need to live. Insurance, minimum debt payments, gas or transport. If you stopped paying these, you would be homeless, starving, or in legal trouble. That is your baseline. Everything else goes into the comfort bucket. The streaming services, the Friday night takeout, the new clothes, the gym membership you barely use, the subscription boxes. When you strip away the comfort bucket, you will likely find that your actual cost of living is significantly lower than your paycheck. You might be earning $5,000 a month, spending $4,800, but your actual survival number is only $3,000. This distinction is critical. When you are buying your freedom, you are in wartime mode. You are trading temporary luxury for permanent autonomy. You don't need to fund your current lifestyle. You need to fund your escape. Your freedom number is based on your survival budget, not your comfort budget. The runway calculation. Now, how much of that survival budget do you actually need in the bank? This is called your runway. If your survival budget is $3,000 a month and you have $9,000 in savings, you have a 3-month runway. That means you have 90 days of pure freedom to figure out your next move without generating a single dollar of income. So, what's the magic number? If you're quitting with zero plan, no side hustle, no leads, just pure cold turkey, you generally want a 6-month runway. That gives you enough buffer to decompress, panic a little, and then find a new path. But if you follow the roadmap we're building in this audiobook, you won't need that much. Because later, we're going to build an income bridge. If you have a side hustle bringing in even $1,000 a month, that subsidizes your runway. For the purpose of this chapter, aim for a minimum of 3 months of your survival budget in liquid savings. Liquid means cash in a checking or savings account, not locked up in retirement funds or stocks that you have to sell at a loss. 3 months. That is the target. It is achievable. It is finite. If your survival number is $3,000, your freedom number is $9,000. That is the price tag on your resignation letter. Now, here's the good news. There is a hidden variable that almost everyone forgets, and it works in your favor. It costs money to have a job. When you quit your corporate job, certain expenses instantly vanish. We call this the work tax. Think about your commute. The gas, the wear and tear on your car, the train tickets. That's money you only spend because you go to work. Think about your wardrobe. Dry cleaning suits, buying business casual clothes, needing specific shoes. And then there are the convenience costs. When you're exhausted after a 10-hour day, you pay for convenience. You order delivery because you're too tired to cook. You hire a cleaner because you don't have time to scrub the floors. You pay for entertainment to numb the stress. When you reclaim your time, you reclaim the ability to do these things yourself. You can cook. You can clean. You don't need the stress relief spending. Many people find that their monthly spending drops by 15 to 20% the moment they quit. So, that survival budget we calculated, it might actually be even lower in reality. Here's your assignment before we move on. Calculate your survival budget, be ruthless. Multiply that number by 3. Subtract the work tax savings if you want to be precise. That number is your target. Write it down. Post it on your fridge. Make it the screensaver on your phone. Every time you're tempted to buy something from the comfort bucket, look at that number. Ask yourself, would I rather have this pair of shoes or am I buying a day of freedom? Every dollar you save is not just money, it is time. $100 might be a nice dinner, or it might be one day you don't have to work for a boss you hate. When you view spending through that lens, saving becomes addictive. You aren't depriving yourself, you're buying your life back. Now, you might be looking at your freedom number and thinking, okay, I have some savings, but not enough. It's going to take me too long to save that much just by cutting Netflix. You're right. You can't just save your way to freedom. You need to earn your way there too. You need to speed up the process. You need a bridge. In the next chapter, we're going to talk about the income bridge. I'm going to show you how to start generating revenue now, before you quit, so that you don't have to drain your savings account the moment you walk out the door. Let's get that income flowing.
Chapter 4. The Income Bridge. There are 2 ways to quit a job. The first way is the cliff jump. You save up your money, you hand in your resignation, and you leap into the void. You have 0 income coming in on day 1. You are relying 100% on your savings to catch you. This is exhilarating, sure. It's dramatic, but it is also terrifying. Every day you don't find work, you watch your bank account drain, and the panic starts to set in. The second way is the bridge crossing. You don't jump. You build a structure that connects your old life to your new life. You start walking across it while you are still employed. And when you finally hand in that resignation letter, you aren't falling. You are just taking the final step onto solid ground. This chapter is about building that structure. We call it the income bridge. The income bridge is a secondary stream of income that you establish before you fire your boss. It doesn't have to replace your full salary. It doesn't even have to cover your full survival budget. It just needs to be real. It needs to exist. If your survival budget is $3,000 a month and you have a side hustle bringing in $1,000 a month, you have just changed the math of your life. You haven't just added money, you have tripled the length of your runway. You have bought yourself 3 times as much time to figure things out. But more importantly, you have bought yourself confidence. So how do you build this bridge? Many people get stuck here because they overcomplicate it. They think they need to invent the next Uber, or launch a complex software company, or write a best-selling novel. They focus on product. But products take a long time to build. They require capital. They require marketing. If you try to build a product-based business while working a full-time job, you might be building for 2 years before you see a single dime. If you want to quit soon, you need speed. And the fastest path to cash is not a product. It is a service. You have skills right now that people will pay for. I guarantee it. Are you good at writing? Can you manage a spreadsheet? Do you know how to edit video? Can you organize a chaotic email inbox? Do you know how to code? There are thousands of business owners out there who are drowning in work and have more money than time. They need help. Your goal is to find one of them. Just one. Don't worry about building a website. Don't worry about printing business cards. Don't worry about a logo. None of that matters. Go to where the demand is. Go to platforms like Upwork or LinkedIn. Reach out to your existing network. Offer to solve a specific problem for a specific price. I will write your weekly newsletter for $200. I will organize your bookkeeping for $500 a month. This is freelancing. It is the rawest form of commerce. You trade your time and skill for money. It might not be your forever business, and that's okay. The goal of the income bridge isn't to make you a billionaire. The goal is to buy your freedom. You can always pivot to a product later once you own your time. But here is why the income bridge is psychologically critical. It provides proof of concept. Right now, your fear is telling you a story. It's saying, you're only valuable because of your job. Without this company, you can't survive. The moment you earn your first independent dollar, even if it's just $50, you shatter that story. You prove to yourself that you can generate value in the open market. That dollar is worth more than $1,000 from your paycheck because you created it. It didn't come from a boss. It came from your own initiative. I want you to set a specific revenue target. Let's call it your green light number. Maybe it's $500 a month. Maybe it's $1,000 a month. Make it a game. Your job isn't to quit yet. Your job is to hit that number. Work your evenings. Work your weekends. Sacrifice the brunch and the Netflix for a few weeks. The moment you hit that green light number, the power dynamic shifts. You're no longer a dependent employee. You are a business owner who happens to have a day job as your biggest client. And here's the secret. When you know you have options, you actually become better at your day job. You stop tolerating the petty nonsense because you know you don't need it. You stop acting out of fear. You walk taller. Now, a warning. Do not fall into the trap of trying to make this side hustle perfect before you launch. I see so many people delay their freedom because they're working on their business plan. They spend months designing a logo. They spend weeks thinking of a clever name. That is not working. That is procrastinating. Business is simple. You have a solution, someone else has a problem, and they pay you to fix it. Until money changes hands, you do not have a business. You have a hobby. Your assignment for this chapter is to identify one skill you can sell. Just one. Then find one person who needs it. Send 5 emails. Apply for 5 freelance gigs. Make 5 phone calls. Do not rest until you have bridged the gap. Once you have that income stream flowing, even a trickle, and you have your savings target from the previous chapter, the financial handcuffs are unlocked. You have the money, you have the runway, you have the cash flow. But before you sprint for the door, we need to make sure you're not leaving any traps behind you.
You signed papers when you joined this company. Do you remember what they said? In the next chapter, we're going to play detective. We're going to dig into the fine print of your employment contract to make sure that when you leave, they can't drag you into a courtroom. Let's put on the HR detective hat. Chapter 4. The Income Bridge. There are two ways to quit a job. The first way is the cliff jump. You save up your money, you hand in your resignation, and you leap into the void. You have zero income coming in on day one. You are relying 100% on your savings to catch you. This is exhilarating, sure. It's dramatic, but it is also terrifying. Every day you don't find work, you watch your bank account drain, and the panic starts to set in. The second way is the bridge crossing. You don't jump. You build a structure that connects your old life to your new life. You start walking across it while you are still employed. And when you finally hand in that resignation letter, you aren't falling. You are just taking the final step onto solid ground. This chapter is about building that structure. We call it the income bridge. The income bridge is a secondary stream of income that you establish before you fire your boss. It doesn't have to replace your full salary. It doesn't even have to cover your full survival budget. It just needs to be real. It needs to exist. If your survival budget is $3,000 a month and you have a side hustle bringing in $1,000 a month, you have just changed the math of your life. You haven't just added money, you have tripled the length of your runway. You have bought yourself 3 times as much time to figure things out. But more importantly, you have bought yourself confidence. So how do you build this bridge? Many people get stuck here because they overcomplicate it. They think they need to invent the next Uber, or launch a complex software company, or write a best-selling novel. They focus on product. But products take a long time to build. They require capital. They require marketing. If you try to build a product-based business while working a full-time job, you might be building for 2 years before you see a single dime. If you want to quit soon, you need speed. And the fastest path to cash is not a product. It is a service. You have skills right now that people will pay for. I guarantee it. Are you good at writing? Can you manage a spreadsheet? Do you know how to edit video? Can you organize a chaotic email inbox? Do you know how to code? There are thousands of business owners out there who are drowning in work and have more money than time. They need help. Your goal is to find one of them. Just one. Don't worry about building a website. Don't worry about printing business cards. Don't worry about a logo. None of that matters. Go to where the demand is. Go to platforms like Upwork or LinkedIn. Reach out to your existing network. Offer to solve a specific problem for a specific price. I will write your weekly newsletter for $200. I will organize your bookkeeping for $500 a month. This is freelancing. It is the rawest form of commerce. You trade your time and skill for money. It might not be your forever business, and that's okay. The goal of the income bridge isn't to make you a billionaire. The goal is to buy your freedom. You can always pivot to a product later once you own your time. But here is why the income bridge is psychologically critical. It provides proof of concept. Right now, your fear is telling you a story. It's saying, you're only valuable because of your job. Without this company, you can't survive. The moment you earn your first independent dollar, even if it's just $50, you shatter that story. You prove to yourself that you can generate value in the open market. That dollar is worth more than $1,000 from your paycheck because you created it. It didn't come from a boss. It came from your own initiative. I want you to set a specific revenue target. Let's call it your green light number. Maybe it's $500 a month. Maybe it's $1,000 a month. Make it a game. Your job isn't to quit yet. Your job is to hit that number. Work your evenings. Work your weekends. Sacrifice the brunch and the Netflix for a few weeks. The moment you hit that green light number, the power dynamic shifts. You're no longer a dependent employee. You are a business owner who happens to have a day job as your biggest client. And here's the secret. When you know you have options, you actually become better at your day job. You stop tolerating the petty nonsense because you know you don't need it. You stop acting out of fear. You walk taller. Now, a warning. Do not fall into the trap of trying to make this side hustle perfect before you launch. I see so many people delay their freedom because they're working on their business plan. They spend months designing a logo. They spend weeks thinking of a clever name. That is not working. That is procrastinating. Business is simple. You have a solution, someone else has a problem, and they pay you to fix it. Until money changes hands, you do not have a business. You have a hobby. Your assignment for this chapter is to identify one skill you can sell. Just one. Then find one person who needs it. Send 5 emails. Apply for 5 freelance gigs. Make 5 phone calls. Do not rest until you have bridged the gap. Once you have that income stream flowing, even a trickle, and you have your savings target from the previous chapter, the financial handcuffs are unlocked. You have the money, you have the runway, you have the cash flow. But before you sprint for the door, we need to make sure you're not leaving any traps behind you. You signed papers when you joined this company. Do you remember what they said? In the next chapter, we're going to play detective. We're going to dig into the fine print of your employment contract to make sure that when you leave, they can't drag you into a courtroom. Let's put on the HR detective hat.
Chapter 5. The HR Detective. It is time to go digging. For most of this process, we have been focusing on you, your mindset, your bank account, your skills. But now we need to shift our focus to them, the company. When you started your job, you likely sat in a conference room or clicked through an endless series of digital documents, signing your name over and over again. You probably didn't read them. Nobody does. You were just excited to get the job. But those documents are still there. And buried in that fine print are landmines that can blow up your escape plan if you aren't careful. In this chapter, you are going to become the HR detective. You need to find your original employment contract, your employee handbook, and your benefits summary. Dig them out of your email archives. Find the dusty folder in your filing cabinet. We are looking for 3 specific things that will determine how and if you can leave safely. The restrictive covenants. The first and most dangerous thing we are looking for is the non-compete and non-solicitation clauses. A non-compete clause basically says, if you leave us, you cannot work for a competitor for X number of time. Now, depending on where you live, these might not be enforceable. Laws are changing rapidly, and many jurisdictions are banning them. But you need to know what you signed. Does it say you can't work for a competitor within 50 miles? Does it say you can't work in the same industry for a year? If you were planning to jump to another company in the same field, or if your income bridge from the last chapter is in the same industry, this is a red flag. You don't want to hand in your resignation and immediately get slapped with a cease and desist letter. Even more common, and often more strictly enforced, is the non-solicitation clause. This one says, you can leave, but you can't take anyone with you. It usually means that you cannot ask your clients to follow you to your new business, and you cannot ask your coworkers to quit and join you. Read the language carefully. Does it say you can't accept business from former clients, or just that you can't solicit them? There is a huge difference. If a client calls you because they heard you left, that might be fair game. But if you email your entire contact list on your last day saying, I'm open for business, you might be inviting a lawsuit. Know the rules so you can navigate around them. Ignorance is not a defense, it's a liability. The benefits extraction. Next, we need to look at your benefits. This is your compensation package, and you want to squeeze every last drop out of it before you go. Let's talk about health insurance. In many companies, your insurance lasts through the end of the month in which you quit. Think about the timing. If you quit on October 31st, your insurance might expire that very night at midnight.
If you quit on November 1st, just one day later, your coverage might last all the way until November 30th. That is 30 days of free coverage just for waiting 24 hours. You need to verify this in your handbook. If you get it wrong, you could be paying for expensive COBRA coverage a month earlier than necessary. Then look at your flexible spending account, FSA. Unlike a health savings account, HSA, which is your money to keep, FSA funds are often use it or lose it. If you have $1,000 sitting in an FSA and you quit, the company often keeps that money. Go buy new glasses, get that dental work done, stock up on prescription meds. Spend that money down to zero before you hand in your notice. It is part of your salary. Do not donate it back to the corporation. Finally, check the rules on your 401k or retirement plan. We aren't talking about your investments themselves. Those are yours. We are talking about the logistics. Do you have an outstanding 401k loan? Some people borrow against their retirement for a down payment on a house. Here's the trap. In many plans, if you leave your job, that loan becomes due immediately. If you can't pay it back in full within a short window, it gets treated as an early withdrawal. That means you get hit with income taxes plus a 10% penalty. Check the terms. If you have a loan, you might need to pay it off before you quit or ensure you have the cash to cover it. Also check for clawback provisions on any tuition reimbursement or relocation bonuses. Did the company pay for your MBA? Did they pay for your move 2 years ago? Often there's a clause that says if you leave within 12 or 24 months, you have to pay that money back. If you are 1 month away from that deadline, you need to wait. Don't write a check for $10,000 just because you were too impatient to wait 4 weeks. This detective work isn't the fun part. It's tedious. Reading legal jargon is boring, but this is how you protect your freedom number. Every penalty you avoid is money in your pocket. Once you have reviewed these documents, you will have a clear map of the landmines. You know when your insurance ends. You know if you owe them money. You know who you can and can't call. With this intelligence, we can now do the most important strategic move of all. We can pick the date. But picking a date isn't just about looking at a calendar. It involves understanding the golden handcuffs, the bonuses and stocks that are designed to keep you stuck. In the next chapter, we are going to time your drop. We are going to find the exact day that maximizes your payout and minimizes your stress. Grab your calendar.
Chapter 6. Timing the Drop. You have your freedom number. You have your income bridge started. You have reviewed your contract for traps. Now we face the most concrete decision of the entire process. When? Most people pick their resignation date emotionally. They have a terrible Tuesday, they get yelled at by a manager, and they decide, that's it, I'm done on Friday. This is a mistake. Resigning is a business transaction, not an emotional outburst. And like any business transaction, timing is everything. If you choose the wrong date, you could walk away leaving thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars on the table. If you choose the right date, you can fund your first few months of freedom with the company's money. We are going to look at the calendar not as a schedule of days, but as a landscape of financial opportunities. We are going to time the drop. The vesting cliff and the bonus trap. The first thing you need to look for is what we call the golden handcuffs. These are the financial incentives designed specifically to keep you from leaving. The two biggest ones are stock vesting and annual bonuses. If you work in tech or a corporate environment with equity, you likely have a vesting schedule. This is where the company grants you stock, but you don't actually own it until a specific date. Often, there is a cliff. For example, you might get a grant of stock that vests annually. Here is the nightmare scenario. You resign on November 14th. Your stock vests on November 15th. By leaving 24 hours too early, you just incinerated that money. The company keeps it. They don't prorate it. It's gone. You need to check your equity portal. Look for the next vesting date. If it is 2 weeks away or even a month away, you suck it up and you stay. You treat those few weeks as the highest paid weeks of your life. If staying for 2 more weeks earns you $5,000 in stock, you are effectively earning $2,500 a week just for patience. The same applies to the annual bonus. This is a classic trap. Companies usually pay bonuses in February or March for the work you did the previous year. But the fine print almost always says, must be employed on the date of payout to receive the bonus. If you worked all last year, crushed your goals, and earned that bonus, but you quit 1 week before the money hits your bank account, you get 0. You worked a whole year for free on that bonus. Do not trust the verbal promise that it's coming. Do not give notice expecting them to be nice and pay you anyway. They won't. You wait until the money clears in your checking account. Once the transfer is complete, then you type up your letter. The PTO calculus. Next, let's look at your vacation time. This is a tricky one because the rules depend entirely on where you live and your company's specific policy, which you should have found during your HR detective work. In some places, accrued vacation time is considered earned wages. That means if you have 10 days of unused vacation and you quit, the company is legally required to cut you a check for those 10 days in your final payout. If this is your situation, do not take a vacation before you quit. Hoard your days. That payout check is an extra 2 weeks of salary that goes straight into your Freedom Fund. It's a severance package you built for yourself. However, many companies have moved to unlimited PTO or have policies where they do not pay out unused days. If you are in this boat, your strategy must be the exact opposite. If you don't use those days, they vanish. So, before you resign, take a vacation. Take 2 weeks. Clear your head. Start working on your side hustle. Get your dentist appointments done. You're still on the payroll, you're still getting insurance, but you're not working. Then come back, work for a few days to be professional, and hand in your notice. Do not leave time on the table. You earned it. Leaving on a high note. Finally, we need to consider the social timing. This isn't about money, it's about reputation. Every industry has crunch time. For accountants, it's tax season. For retail, it's the holidays. For teachers, it's the start of the school year. If you resign right in the middle of your team's busiest, most stressful week of the year, you are burning a bridge. You're signaling to your boss and your colleagues that you don't care if they drown. You might feel like you don't care right now, but remember, the world is small. You might need a reference from these people in 5 years. The strategic move is to leave during a lull. Find the quiet season. Resigning when things are slow is an act of grace. It gives your boss time to find a replacement without panicking. It allows you to document your work properly. It preserves your relationships. If you can wait until the big project is delivered, do it. You want your legacy to be, they left us in great shape, not they abandoned us when we needed us the most. So, combine these 3 factors. Look for the vesting dates and bonus payouts. That sets your earliest possible date. Check your PTO balance. Do you need to burn vacation days first? That might push the date back 2 weeks. Look at the team calendar. Is there a major deadline you should see through to protect your reputation? Triangulate those dates. Find the sweet spot. That specific Tuesday or Friday is your drop date. I want you to open your calendar right now, on your phone or your computer, and create an event on that day. Label it Freedom Day. Seeing it in writing makes it real. It stops being a vague wish and starts being a deadline. And as we all know, deadlines spur action. Now that you know when you're leaving, we need to figure out how you explain it. Because people are going to ask. Your boss will ask. Your mom will ask. LinkedIn will notice. You need a story. You need to control the narrative so that you're not just unemployed, but rather strategically pivoting. In the next chapter, we're going to craft your professional narrative. We are going to scrub your social media and write the script that turns your resignation into a career upgrade. Let's get your stories straight.
Chapter 7. The Narrative Pivot. There is a saying in politics that applies perfectly to your career. If you don't tell your story, someone else will tell it for you. When you resign, especially if you don't have another traditional full-time job lined up immediately, you create a vacuum of information. Nature abhors a vacuum, and so does the office gossip mill. If you leave without a clear narrative, people will fill that silence with their own theories. They might whisper that you were pushed out. They might guess you had a breakdown. They might assume you were rash or unstable. We are not going to let that happen. We are going to engineer the narrative before you ever walk into that meeting. We are going to turn your resignation from a quit into a strategic pivot. You aren't leaving because you gave up. You are leaving because you have leveled up. And the first place we need to plant that flag is on your digital resume. Stealth mode on LinkedIn. Let's talk about LinkedIn. It is the primary way the professional world sees you. Right now, your profile probably reads like a dry list of duties for your current employer. It says manager and lists things like responsible for team meetings or handled accounts. That is an employee profile. We need to convert it into a consultant profile or a founder profile. But, and this is critical, you have to do it in stealth mode. Here is the mistake rookies make. They go on LinkedIn and start overhauling their profile on a Tuesday morning. They change their headline, they rewrite their bio, they add new skills, and guess what? LinkedIn has a default setting that broadcasts every single one of those changes to your network. Your boss gets a notification, Sarah just updated her profile. Your colleagues see it in their feed. Suddenly, everyone knows you're looking. You have tipped your hand before you're ready. So, grab your phone or open a new tab. Go to your LinkedIn settings. Look for visibility and then find Share Profile Updates with your network. Turn it off. Toggle it to No. Now you are invisible. You can tear your profile down to the studs and rebuild it, and no one will know until you want them to. Start rewriting your current role. Stop talking about your duties and start talking about your results. Shift the language. Instead of managed a team of 5, use led a strategic initiative that increased revenue by 20%. You want to frame your current job not as a place where you punch a clock, but as a successful project that you have now completed. You want to look like someone who conquers challenges and then moves on to bigger things. The What's Next script. Once the news breaks that you are leaving, you're going to get asked the same question about 50 times a day. So, where are you going? If you don't have a slick answer, you'll stutter. You'll say, well, I'm just taking some time, or I'm looking for opportunities. This sounds weak. It sounds like you don't have a plan. You need a cover story. Even if your real plan is to sit on your couch and decompose for a month, that is not what you tell the vice president. You need a phrase that sounds professional, intentional, and slightly mysterious. Try this. I'm moving into consulting for a few select clients. Or, I'm taking a planned sabbatical to focus on professional development and a personal business venture. Or even simply, I'm pivoting to focus entirely on a new project in the insert industry space. Notice the language: consulting, select clients, venture, project. These words command respect. They signal that you are in demand. Even if your client is your neighbor paying you $50 to walk their dog, for the purpose of the narrative, you are an independent contractor managing a portfolio. When you speak with confidence about your next step, people don't pity you for being unemployed, they envy you for being free. Harvesting social proof. Finally, we need to gather your ammunition. The day you hand in your resignation, your influence in the building starts to degrade. The day you walk out the door, it drops to 0. You need to collect your social proof now, while you are still an active, helpful colleague. I want you to identify 3 people in your company who love your work. Not necessarily your boss. It could be a client, a peer in another department, or a manager you worked on a past project. Send them a message this week. Say, hey, I'm doing some housekeeping on my LinkedIn profile, and I'd love to include a recommendation from you. Would you mind writing 2 sentences about our work on Project X? Do not mention you're leaving. Just frame it as housekeeping. Most people will say yes. When they write it, it gets stamped with a date. A recommendation dated before you quit looks like genuine praise for a high performer. A recommendation dated after you quit looks like a pity favor for someone who is unemployed. Also, go through your emails. Find those messages where someone said, "Great job," or "You saved the day." Screenshot them. Save them to a personal folder. These are your receipts. If you ever need to prove your value to a future client or employer, you don't want those testimonials locked inside an email server you no longer have access to. Your reputation is an asset. It is just as real as the money in your bank account. Don't leave it behind. Now, you have the timing, you have the money, you have the story. The preparation phase is officially over. We are done planning. It is time to execute. We are moving to the physical act of resignation. You need to generate a document that makes this real. A document that is legally sound, professionally cold, and leaves no room for argument. In the next chapter, we are going to write your letter of resignation. And I'm going to tell you exactly what to put in it, and more importantly, what to leave out. Let's draft your Declaration of Independence.
Chapter 8. The Letter of Resignation. This is it. We have arrived at the moment of creation. Up until now, your resignation has been a thought, a plan, a conversation in your head, or a set of numbers on a spreadsheet. It has been theoretical. But the moment you type this document, it becomes reality. The resignation letter is the artifact that splits your life into before and after. I know the temptation you're feeling right now. You are sitting at your keyboard and you are thinking about everything you've endured. You're thinking about the unpaid overtime, the micromanagement, the broken promises, the time your boss took credit for your idea. You feel a burning desire to put it all down on paper. You want to write a manifesto. You want to explain why you are leaving so they finally understand what they lost. Stop. Take your hands off the keyboard. A resignation letter is not a diary entry. It is not a therapy session, and it is certainly not a movie script where you get the final dramatic word. A resignation letter is a legal document. Its only purpose is to formally terminate the contract between you and your employer. That is it. It is a boring, functional piece of administrative paperwork. And in the world of HR and law, boring is beautiful. Boring keeps you safe. The 3 mandatory sentences. I'm going to give you the exact template you need. It is incredibly short. In fact, if your resignation letter is longer than 3 or 4 sentences, you have written too much. You need to convey 3 specific pieces of information. Anything else is fluff or liability. Sentence number 1. The declaration. You must state clearly and unequivocally that you are resigning. Do not use wishy-washy language like, I am thinking about leaving or I intend to resign. You write, please accept this letter as formal notification that I am resigning from my position as blank. Sentence number 2. The date. This is the most legally significant part of the letter. You must establish the end of your employment. This dictates your final paycheck, your benefits timeline, and your official separation. You write, my last day of employment will be date. Make sure this date aligns with the notice period in your contract, usually 2 weeks. If you are leaving immediately, you state effective immediately, but be precise. Sentence number 3. The transition. This is the professional olive branch. You want to signal that you are not going to burn the house down on your way out. You write,
I intend to do everything possible to ensure a smooth handover of my duties during my notice period. And if you're feeling generous, you can add a fourth sentence. Thank you for the opportunity to work at blank company name. That's it. Sincerely, your name. Why so short? Because anything you add can be used against you. If you write, I am resigning because of the toxic culture, you have just created a dispute. HR now has to investigate. Your boss gets defensive. You become a problem to be managed rather than a professional moving on. If you write, I am leaving to go to competitor name, you might get walked out of the building immediately by security before you have a chance to save your files. Keep it vague, keep it cold, keep it professional. What to delete? I want you to look at your draft and perform a feelings audit. Are there any adjectives? Delete them. Are there any apologies? Delete them. Many people feel guilty when they quit. They write things like, I'm so sorry to do this to the team, or I feel terrible about the timing. Do not apologize. You are not committing a crime. You are engaging in a free market transaction. You are selling your labor, and you have decided to stop selling it to this particular buyer. You don't apologize to a grocery store when you decide to shop somewhere else. Don't apologize to an employer for managing your own career. Also, remove any promises you can't keep. Don't write, I will be available for calls after I leave. Do not write, I will finish the entire project by Friday, if you aren't sure. Whatever you put in writing becomes the expectation. Set the bar low so you can clear it easily. Delivery logistics. Now that you have the text, how do you deliver it? In the digital age, the standard is a PDF attachment via email. Do not just write the resignation in the body of an email. Emails can be deleted, forwarded casually, or lost in a thread. Type it up in a word processor. Sign it, either digitally or print it, sign it, and scan it. Save it as resignation_your name_date.pdf. This PDF is your shield. It looks official. It cannot be edited. When you send the email, the subject line should be clear. Resignation-your name. You need to send this to your direct manager. But, and this is crucial, you must carbon copy human resources. Why? Because managers are human. They might panic. They might ignore it. They might pretend they never got it to delay your notice period. By carbon copying HR, you create an institutional record. The clock legally starts the moment that email hits the server. Also, blind carbon copy your personal email address. You want a time-stamped proof that you sent this letter just in case they cut off your email access 5 minutes later. You need a copy that lives outside their system. If you work in a physical office, there is a power move you should consider. Print a physical copy. Sign it with a blue pen. Put it in an envelope. There is something psychologically final about handing a physical envelope to another human being. It carries weight. It says, this is real. So here's your assignment. Draft the letter. Save it as a PDF. Put it in your Freedom folder on your desktop. Do not send it yet, because sending the letter is the easy part. The hard part is what happens 10 seconds after you hit send. The hard part is the noise of your boss's chair swiveling around, or the ping of a Zoom invite appearing on your calendar. You have the document. Now you need the script for the conversation. You need to know exactly what to say when you look them in the eye and drop the bomb. In the next chapter, we are going to role-play the most uncomfortable meeting of your life, and I'm going to show you how to control every second of it. Get your script ready.
Chapter 9. The Meeting Script. You have the PDF saved on your desktop. You have your date selected. You have your story straight. Now, you have to do the one thing that makes your stomach turn over
just thinking about it. You have to walk into the room or log on to the Zoom call and actually say the words. This moment, the resignation meeting, is the climax of the entire process. It is the point of no return. And because the stakes feel so high, your body is going to try to sabotage you. Your heart rate will spike to 120. Your palms will sweat. Your throat will go dry. When we are physically stressed, we tend to ramble. We try to fill the silence with nervous chatter. We apologize. We over-explain. We give the other person leverage because we just want the awkwardness to end. To survive this meeting, you cannot rely on improvisation. You need a script. You need to be an actor playing the role of a cold, calm executive. In this chapter, I am going to direct your performance. I will tell you exactly how to set the stage, what to say, and crucially, when to shut your mouth. The initiation. In the meeting, you need to rip the Band-Aid off. The outro, as the meeting ends. First, let's talk about how to initiate the meeting. Do not do this over Slack. Do not do this via text message. And do not just pop your head into their office unannounced if you can avoid it. You want a controlled environment. Send a calendar invite for a 15-minute slot. Keep the title vague but professional. Use quick sync, update, or check-in. Do not title it resignation or bad news. You want them to enter the meeting with a neutral mindset, not already defensive. When the meeting starts, this is where the battle is won or lost. Usually, meetings start with small talk. How was your weekend? Did you see the game? Crazy weather we're having. You must kill the small talk immediately. Small talk builds rapport, and rapport makes it harder to quit. If you spend 5 minutes joking about a TV show, you re-establish the human bond, and you will feel 10 times more guilty about breaking it. As soon as you sit down or the camera turns on, you take control. You say, "Thanks for making time. I have some important news to share, so I'd like to jump straight into it." This signals a tone shift. The room will go quiet. You have their full attention. Now, you deliver the script. Do not lead up to it. Do not say, "Well, you know I've been unhappy lately," or "I've been thinking a lot." Just say it. We use the Band-Aid method. Fast, clean, painful, but over in a second. Here are the exact words you will say. "I have decided to resign from my position. My final day will be date." That's it. 2 sentences. I have decided to resign from my position. My final day will be Friday the 15th. Now here is the most difficult instruction I will give you in this entire audiobook. Stop talking. Clasp your hands on the table, look them in the eye, and wait. The silence that follows those words will feel like it lasts for an hour. It will be heavy. It will be awkward. Every fiber of your being will scream at you to break the tension. You will want to say, "I really enjoyed working here," or "I hope you aren't mad." Do not speak. The person who speaks first loses. You need to let the reality of the statement land on them. They need to process the shock. If you keep talking, you interrupt their processing. You also risk giving them an opening to argue. By staying silent, you project absolute confidence. You are saying, "I have made a decision and I am comfortable with it." The deflection. Eventually, they will speak. They will likely say one of 2 things. First, they might ask, "Why?" Or second, they might ask, "Where are you going?" This is where you use the narrative we built in Chapter 7, but you keep it brief. You do not want to get into a debate about the merits of your current job versus your new one.
If they ask why, you say, "I've decided to move in a new direction that aligns better with my long-term goals." If they ask, "Where are you going?" you say, "I'm moving on to a new opportunity," or "I'm taking some time to pivot into industry." If they push, if they ask, "Is it because of the salary?" or "Is it because of the management?" do not take the bait. This is not an exit interview. This is a notification. You simply repeat the line. "It's just the right time for me to make a change." Be a broken record. You cannot be argued with if you only have one answer. The exit. Now you need to end the emotional part of the meeting and start the logistical part of the meeting. This is how you escape the room. You say, "I have already drafted a transition plan to make sure my projects are handed over smoothly. I've also emailed my formal letter to you and HR just now." By mentioning the formal letter and HR, you are signaling that the administrative machine is already moving. The train has left the station. There is no turning back. You stand up or lean back from the camera and say, "I know this is sudden, and I want to make the next 2 weeks as easy as possible for you. Let's catch up tomorrow to go over the specific handover details once you've had a chance to process this." And then you end the meeting. Do not let it drag on for 30 minutes. Do not let them turn it into a therapy session. Deliver the news, confirm the date, offer the transition, and leave. You did it. You survived. You are out of the room and your heart is slowly returning to a normal rhythm. But you aren't safe yet. Because about an hour from now, or maybe tomorrow morning, your boss is going to come back. They're going to have a different look in their eye. They're going to have a folder in their hand or a new number to show you. They are going to try to buy you back. They will offer you a raise. They will offer you a promotion. They will tell you they can't survive without you. This is the counteroffer, and it is the most dangerous trap in the entire resignation process. Accepting it is almost always a career suicide mission. In the next chapter, I'm going to explain exactly why you must say no, regardless of how much money they put on the table. Prepare your resolve.
Chapter 10. The Counteroffer Trap. You have dropped the bomb. The initial shock has worn off. You are sitting at your desk, trying to focus, when your boss walks back in. Or maybe you get an urgent calendar invite with the VP of your department. They sit you down. The tone is different now. It's softer, almost desperate. They slide a piece of paper across the desk, or they look you in the eye and say, "We can't lose you. We want to match your new offer. In fact, we'll beat it. We'll give you a 15% raise, effective immediately." In that moment, your ego is going to light up like a Christmas tree. It feels amazing to be wanted. You think, "Wow, they really do value me. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe things can change. And hey, more money without the hassle of starting a new job? That sounds perfect." I need you to stop right there. This is not a reward. This is a trap. Accepting a counteroffer is statistically one of the worst career moves you can make. Recruitment data shows that somewhere between 70 and 90% of employees who accept a counteroffer end up leaving the company anyway within 6 to 12 months. Why? Because the fundamental relationship is broken. Let's look at this from the company's perspective. Why are they offering you more money now? Is it because they suddenly realized you are a genius? No. They are offering you money because they are panicking. Replacing you is expensive. It costs time to interview candidates. It costs money to pay recruiters. It costs lost productivity while the seat is empty. Giving you a $10,000 raise is cheaper and faster than finding a stranger to do your job. It is a bandage on a hemorrhage. But here is the catch. Once you accept that money, you are marked. You are no longer the loyal team player.
You are the flight risk. The next time a promotion comes up, will they give it to you, the person who almost quit? Or will they give it to the person who stayed? The next time there are layoffs, who's on the chopping block? The person who already has one foot out the door. By resigning, you revealed your hand. You told them you don't want to be there. You can't unring that bell. Even if you stay, the trust is gone. They will likely keep you just long enough to find your replacement or download your brain, and then they will cut you loose on their terms, not yours. Furthermore, ask yourself this. If they had the budget to pay you 15% more today, why weren't they paying that to you yesterday? They had the money. They just chose not to give it to you until you held a gun to their head. That isn't appreciation. That is exploitation. And that dynamic will not change just because your paycheck is slightly larger. The guilt trip tactics. If money doesn't work, they will try emotional leverage. This is often harder to resist than the cash. They will use phrases like, "We're a family here. We were counting on you for this big launch. I stuck my neck out for you. Don't do this to me." Think about the team. You're going to leave them drowning in work. This is manipulation. Plain and simple. If they were truly a family, they would want what is best for you, even if that means leaving. If they were truly counting on you, they would have created an environment where you didn't want to leave. Do not accept responsibility for their staffing failures. If your departure causes the department to collapse, that is not your fault. That is a failure of management. You are an employee, not a load-bearing wall. They are trying to use your own empathy against you. They know you are a good person. They know you care about your teammates. But you cannot set yourself on fire just to keep them warm. So, how do you say no? It is very difficult to look at a pile of money or a pleading boss and say, pass. You need a script that shuts down the negotiation without being rude. The key is to make it clear that money is not the issue. If you make it about money, they will just keep adding dollars until you break. You have to make it about the opportunity. Here is exactly what you say. I am truly flattered by the offer, and I appreciate you fighting for me. But this decision wasn't about the money. I'm leaving because I need to pursue this new path for my long-term career growth. Staying here, even at a higher salary, wouldn't solve that need for me. If they push again, you repeat it. I understand and I'm grateful, but my mind is made up. I want to focus on making my remaining time here as productive as possible. Be a broken record. My mind is made up. It is firm. It is polite. It leaves no room for bargaining. Once you say this, the energy in the room will change again. They will realize you're gone. The courtship is over. Now you enter the lame duck phase. You are physically present, but you are professionally halfway out the door. This is your notice period. For the next 2 weeks, you are walking a tightrope. If you check out too early, you ruin your reputation. If you work too hard, you burn out before your new life begins. In the next chapter, we're going to establish the notice period protocol. I'll show you how to navigate the awkwardness, how to dodge the gossip, and how to sprint to the finish line so you leave as a legend. Let's finish strong.
Chapter 11. The Notice Period Protocol. Welcome to the lame duck phase. You have resigned. You have rejected the counteroffer. The date is set, but you are still physically in the building. For the next 2 weeks, you're in a strange professional limbo. You are an employee, but you're also an outsider. This is the most dangerous time for your reputation. There's a psychological concept called the peak end of renewal.
It states that people judge an experience largely based on how they felt at its peak and at its end. They tend to forget the middle. You might have worked at this company for 5 years. You might have pulled all-nighters, saved critical accounts, and been a model employee. But if you slack off, complain, or act arrogant during your final 10 days, that is what they will remember. You can erase 5 years of goodwill in 2 weeks of laziness. Your goal during this period is simple. You want them to miss you before you are even gone. The sprint to the finish. The instant right now is to coast. You have seniority. You think, what are they going to do? Fire me? You might be tempted to come in late, leave early, and take 2-hour lunches. Do the opposite. I want you to work harder in these last 2 weeks than you have in the last 2 years. This is the sprint to the finish. Why? Because this is your legacy. When you leave, you want the narrative to be, wow, they were a professional until the very last second. Clean up your messes, close out the tickets, organize the shared drive, do the tasks that you've been putting off for months. You want to leave the campsite cleaner than you found it. This isn't about helping the company. This is about protecting your personal brand. The world is incredibly small. The junior colleague watching you slack off today might be the hiring manager you need to impress in 5 years. Show them what excellence looks like. The gossip containment field. While you are sprinting, you are going to face a social minefield. The moment people know you are leaving, the dynamic changes. Colleagues will stop by your desk. They will invite you for coffee. And they will lower their voices and ask, "So, why are you really leaving?" They are digging for dirt. They want validation for their own misery. They want you to say, "I'm leaving because the boss is a nightmare and the pay is a joke." It feels incredibly satisfying to vent. You feel safe because you're leaving. You think, "I can finally speak the truth." Do not do it. Anything you say in these final 2 weeks will be amplified and repeated the moment you walk out the door. If you trash talk a manager, it will get back to them. If you call the company a sinking ship, you will be labeled as toxic or disgruntled. When people fish for gossip, give them the diplomat's answer. "I'm just ready for a new challenge. I learned a lot here, but it's time to move on. I'm going to miss the team." Be boring. Be positive. Even if you hate the place, lie. You are playing the long game. You want your former colleagues to remember you as a class act, not a grenade thrower. Managing the brain pickers. Finally, you need to set boundaries on your time. As the reality of your departure sets in, panic will start to spread. People will realize that you know things that nobody else knows. Suddenly, your calendar will fill up with invites titled Quick Sync or Knowledge Download. Everyone wants to pick your brain. If you accept every meeting, you will spend your final 2 weeks talking in circles and getting nothing done. You will leave feeling exhausted and disorganized. You need to take control of this process. Decline the random brain-picking meetings. Instead, tell them, "I'm currently documenting all my processes. I will schedule a specific handover session next week to walk you through everything at once." This reassures them that the information won't be lost, but it protects your focus. It forces them to wait for your structured handover rather than pecking at you all day. And speaking of that handover, this is the most tangible thing you will leave behind. It is the manual for your job. If you do this right, you will never receive a panicked phone call from your old boss asking, "Where is the file?" or "What is the password?" In the next chapter, we are going to build the ultimate exit package. We are going to conduct the knowledge transfer. Let's make sure the company can survive without you.
Chapter 12, The Knowledge Transfer. I want you to imagine a scenario. It is 3 weeks from now. You are sitting in your home office or maybe on a beach, enjoying your first taste of true freedom. You have finally decompressed. You are happy. And then your phone buzzes. It's your old boss or your frantic replacement. "Hey," they say, "so sorry to bother you, but we can't find the login for the vendor portal, and the quarterly report you used to run is broken. Can you jump on a quick call to help us out?" This is the nightmare. If you do not execute the knowledge transfer correctly, you never truly leave. You remain an unpaid consultant, tethered to your old job by a chain of guilt and quick questions. We are going to sever that chain today. We are going to build a handover system so robust, so clear, and so comprehensive that they will never have a reason to call you again. The video walkthrough. The biggest mistake people make during a handover is writing a manual. They open a Word document and start typing. Step 1, click the blue button. Step 2, select the drop-down. This is a waste of time. Nobody reads manuals. They are boring to write and confusing to follow. And because they take so long to write, you usually end up skipping the details. Instead of writing, I want you to record. Download a screen recording tool, something like Loom or just the built-in recorder on your computer. For the next few days, every time you do a specific task, running a report, updating the website, processing an invoice, hit record. Talk through what you were doing as you do it. "Okay, I'm logging into the system. Watch out for this bug on page 2. Make sure you check this box, otherwise the whole thing fails." A 3-minute video is worth 30 pages of text. It captures the nuance. It captures the little workarounds you've developed over the years that you wouldn't think to write down. Create a library of these videos. Label them clearly. How to process payroll. How to update the client list. When you hand over a folder of 20 videos, you look like a superhero. You look organized and tech-savvy. But really, you just took the lazy way out. You did the work once, recorded it, and now you never have to explain it again. The password protocol and file hygiene. Next, we need to talk about digital hygiene. Over the years, you have likely accumulated a personal ecosystem of files. You have documents saved to your desktop called Draft Final V3. You have passwords saved in your browser or scribbled on sticky notes. If you leave a chaotic digital mess behind, people will blame you for their incompetence long after you are gone. "We can't find it because Sarah filed it wrong," they will say. Don't give them that ammunition. Create a master folder on the shared drive called Handover-Your Name. Inside, create subfolders for key contacts, active projects, and archives. Move your files there. Rename your files. Stop using cryptic abbreviations. Use plain English. Q3budgetfinal.xlss is better than Q3bfnl. And then the keys to the kingdom. Passwords. Do not email passwords. It is insecure and unprofessional. If your company uses a password manager, ensure all your shared accounts are in a vault that your manager can access. If they don't, create a secure document or use a tool like 1Password to transfer the credentials safely. This is also the time to delete your personal files. Get your tax returns, your personal photos, and your resume off the company laptop. Wipe the browser history. Once you hand that machine over, it belongs to IT. Assume they will look at everything. Scrub it clean. The exit memo. Finally, you are going to write one single document. We call it the exit memo. This is the executive summary of your departure. It is a high-level status report of everything currently on your plate. For every open project, list 3 things. 1. Current status. Where is it right now? 2. Next steps. What needs to happen in the next week? 3. The owner. Who's taking this over? If there isn't a clear owner, write to be determined. This document is your shield.
On their last day, you will email this to your boss and your team. Why is this so important? Because if a ball gets dropped 2 weeks after you leave, they can't say, "You didn't tell us." You can point to the exit memo and say, "It's right there on page 2. I told you it needed to be done by Tuesday." It proves you were professional. It proves you were organized. It absolves you of responsibility for what happens next. When you send that final email with the link to your video library, your organized folders, and your exit memo, you are sending a clear message. I am done. You have emptied your brain. You have transferred the weight. You are light. Now, there is only one hurdle left. The final ritual. The awkward conversation with HR where they ask you to be honest about why you are leaving. In the next chapter, we're going to survive the exit interview, and I'm going to tell you why honesty is the last thing you should offer them. Let's navigate the final trap.
Chapter 13. The Exit Interview Strategy. You are almost at the finish line. The heavy lifting is done. You've resigned, you've documented your work, and you've packed your box. But there is one final obstacle standing between you and the exit door. Human resources. They will send you an invite. It will be titled Exit Interview. The email will sound friendly. It will say something like, "We want to hear about your experience," or "We value your candid feedback to help us improve." I need you to listen to me very closely right now. Do not fall for this. The exit interview is not a therapy session. It is not a town hall meeting. It is a risk assessment. HR's job is to protect the company. The primary goal of the exit interview is to determine if you are a legal liability. They want to know, are you going to sue? Are you going to steal clients? Are you going to badmouth the brand on Glassdoor? They are mining for data to protect themselves, not to help you. And yet, so many people walk into this meeting thinking it is their moment of vindication. They think, finally, I can tell them how incompetent my manager is. I can tell them about the toxic culture. I can fix this place for the people I'm leaving behind. This is a noble thought. It is also a dangerous delusion. The myth of confidentiality. The first thing the HR representative will likely tell you is, everything you say here is confidential. In the corporate world, confidentiality is a myth. If you sit there and list specific grievances about your boss, if you say they are a bully, or they are incompetent, or they play favorites, HR has to document that. And often, they have to investigate it. Guess who they're going to talk to? Your boss. Even if they don't use your name, your boss isn't stupid. They will know exactly who said it. You are the one leaving. Now, you might be thinking, who cares? I'm gone. Let them deal with it. But remember the long game. That boss you just threw under the bus, they're still in your industry. They still have a phone. In 5 years, a recruiter might call them for a back-channel reference check on you. You do not want the last memory of you to be a formal HR complaint that caused them a headache. You want them to remember you as the person who left professionally, not the person who dropped a grenade on the way out. The fix-it fallacy. There is another reason to keep your mouth shut. It's not your problem anymore. You are leaving because the company is broken. You are leaving because they didn't listen to you when you were an employee. Why do you think they will start listening to you now that you are a former employee? Trying to fix the company on your last day is a waste of your emotional energy. You are donating free consulting advice to a business that didn't value you enough to keep you. If you have a brilliant idea on how to restructure the department, keep it to yourself. If you know exactly why the strategy is failing, let it fail. You are no longer paid to solve their problems. You are paid to protect your future. Save your energy for your new life. Don't pour it into the past. The vanilla script. So, what do you actually say in this meeting? you are going to be boring. You are going to be vanilla. When they ask, "Why are you leaving?" you say, "I received an offer that aligns perfectly with my long-term career goals. It was just an opportunity I couldn't pass up." When they ask, "How was your relationship with your manager?" you say, "We had a professional relationship. I learned a lot about blank while working on the team." When they ask, "What could we have done to keep you?" you say, "Honestly, nothing. I've enjoyed my time here, but this new role is just the right next step for me." Notice what you are doing. You are being polite. You are being vague. You are giving them absolutely nothing they can use against you, but you are sounding cooperative. If they push you, if they say, "Come on, we really want to know the truth," you just smile and repeat the script. "I really don't have any negative feedback. It's just time for a change." This is called gray rocking. You make yourself as uninteresting as a gray rock. The final handshake. Eventually, the HR rep will give up digging. They will have you sign a few final papers. They will ask for your badge and your laptop. This is the moment. You hand over the plastic card that has controlled your movements for years. You hand over the computer that tethered you to the inbox. And then you stand up. You shake their hand. You walk out of the conference room. You walk down the hall. You press the button for the elevator. When those elevator doors close, you are going to feel a sensation that is hard to describe. It is a mix of lightness and terror. The cord is cut. You are unemployed. You are a free agent. You walk out of the building and step onto the sidewalk. The air smells different. The noises of the city sound different. You have successfully fired your boss. But now a new challenge begins, because tomorrow morning, for the first time in a long time, nobody is going to tell you what to do. There is no schedule. There is no deadline. There is just time. And if you're not careful, that empty time can become a vacuum that sucks you into anxiety and depression. In the next chapter, we are going to design your first day of freedom. We are going to make sure you don't wake up and panic. Welcome to Day 1.
Chapter 14. Day 1 of Freedom. The sun comes up on Monday morning. For the first time in years, the alarm on your phone didn't go off at 6:30 a.m. Or maybe it did, out of habit, and you stared at it for a confused second before realizing you don't have anywhere to be. The commute is happening without you. The traffic is snarled on the highway. The morning stand-up meeting is starting in 10 minutes, and your chair is empty. This moment is euphoric. It is the feeling of shackles falling off. You might feel an urge to pull the covers up, roll over, and sleep until noon. You might think, "I've earned this. I'm going to binge watch a show. I'm going to day drink. I'm going to do absolutely nothing." I need you to resist that urge. Day 1 is critical. How you spend your first 24 hours of freedom sets the trajectory for your entire new life. If you treat this like a vacation, you will drift, and drifting is dangerous. The vacation trap. There is a massive difference between a vacation mindset and a builder mindset. When you were an employee, you viewed time off as an escape. You were recovering from the trauma of work, so you numb out, you consume, you turn your brain off. But you are not on vacation. You are unemployed. Or, if you followed our plan, you are self-employed. You are now the CEO of Your Life, Inc. If the CEO sleeps until noon and watches Netflix all day, the company goes bankrupt. The danger of the vacation mindset is inertia. Physics tells us that an object at rest tends to stay at rest. If you spend your first week in pajamas, it becomes incredibly hard to put on real clothes in week 2. The freedom starts to feel like depression. The silence in your apartment stops feeling peaceful and starts feeling heavy. You need momentum. You need to prove to yourself immediately that you can function without a boss telling you what to do. So, here's your protocol for day 1. You are going to wake up at a reasonable time,
It doesn't have to be the crack of dawn, but set an alarm for 8 a.m. Get up. Make your bed. This sounds like a cliché from a military speech, but it matters. It is your first completed task of the day. It signals to your brain that order exists. Then, get dressed. Do not stay in your sweatpants. You don't need to wear a suit, but put on outside clothes. Shower. Brush your teeth. You are signaling to your subconscious that you are on the clock. The difference is that this time, the clock is yours. Create a morning ritual that has nothing to do with email. Maybe you go for a walk. Maybe you read a book for 30 minutes or make a complex breakfast you never had time for before. This ritual replaces the commute. It is the bridge between sleeping and living. Now, what do you actually do with your day? When you have 8 empty hours stretching out in front of you, it is easy to get paralyzed. You might try to do everything at once, start the business, clean the garage, write a novel, or you might do nothing. I want you to use the rule of 3. For your first week, and especially for day 1, you are allowed to set only 3 goals per day. Goal number 1 should be professional. Maybe it's email 3 contacts about my new consulting gig, or update my LinkedIn profile to open for business. Goal number 2 should be physical. Go to the gym, or take a long bike ride. You need to burn off the nervous energy that used to go into your job. Goal number 3 should be restorative. Cook a healthy dinner, or call a friend I haven't seen in months. Write these 3 things down on a piece of paper. When you finish them, cross them off with a big, heavy marker. That visual proof of progress is your new paycheck. It releases dopamine. It tells you, I am moving forward. Confronting the void. Sometime around 2 p.m. on that first day, something strange will happen. You will finish your tasks. The house will be quiet, and you will feel a sudden spike of anxiety. You will wonder, is this it? Did I make a mistake? Everyone else is at work right now doing important things, and I'm just here. This is the void. For years, your identity has been tied to your productivity as defined by a corporation. You measured your worth by how busy you were. Now that you're not busy in the traditional sense, you feel worthless. This is normal. You are not just changing jobs, you are detoxing from a culture of busyness. You are going through withdrawal. Do not try to fill the void with busy work. Do not check your old work email, if you still could. Do not doom scroll social media. Sit with it. Acknowledge it. Say to yourself, I'm feeling anxious because I'm retraining my brain. It takes time to learn how to be a human being again instead of a human doing. In the next chapter, we're going to talk about this emotional detox in depth. Because in the coming weeks, you're going to experience phantom vibrations, identity crises, and waves of guilt. We need to manage the psychological withdrawal so you don't run back to the cage just because it feels familiar. Let's talk about the detox.
Chapter 15. Detox and Decompression. Let's be honest about what happens next. You expect that the moment you quit, the clouds will part, a choir of angels will sing, and you will be instantly filled with Zen-like peace. You expect to feel like you're on a permanent vacation. But for many of you, that is not what happens, at least not at first. Instead, you might feel irritable. You might feel foggy. You might feel a strange, vibrating anxiety thrumming just beneath your skin. You might catch yourself checking your phone every 3 minutes, waiting for a crisis that isn't coming. This is not regret. This is withdrawal. You have spent years, maybe decades, in a high-stress environment.
Your body has adapted to running on cortisol and adrenaline. You have been existing in a state of chronic fight or flight. When you suddenly remove the stressor, the job, your body doesn't know how to shut down the response. You're like a soldier coming back from a war zone who dives behind the couch when a car backfires. You are safe now, but your nervous system hasn't gotten the memo yet. In this chapter, we are going to talk about the detox. We are going to normalize the messy, uncomfortable emotions that come with freedom so you don't mistake them for failure. Phantom vibrations. The first symptom you will likely experience is what I call the phantom vibration. You know the feeling. You are sitting at lunch or walking in the park, and you feel your phone buzz in your pocket. You reach for it, your heart rate spikes slightly, anticipating an urgent email from your boss. You look at the screen, it's blank. No one called. No one emailed. Or you wake up at 7 a.m. on a Tuesday with a jolt of panic, thinking, I'm late for the all-hands meeting. Then you remember, there is no meeting. You're not late for anything. These are phantom limbs. You have been tethered to the digital leash for so long that your brain has rewired itself to expect the tug. You are addicted to the dopamine loop of notification, reaction, resolution. When that loop breaks, your brain frantically searches for the stimulus. It craves the urgency. Here's how you treat this. You have to physically separate yourself from the device. For the first few weeks, do not carry your phone in your pocket around the house. Leave it in a drawer. Put it on Do Not Disturb. You need to retrain your brain to understand that the device is a tool for you to use, not a shock collar for others to control you. Every time you reach for it and stop yourself, you're breaking the neural pathway. You're reclaiming your attention span. It is uncomfortable, like quitting sugar or caffeine, but the clarity on the other side is worth it. The guilt of rest. The second symptom is even more insidious. It is the guilt of rest. We live in a culture that fetishizes hustle. We are taught from a young age that our value as human beings is directly tied to our economic output. If you're not producing, you're lazy. If you aren't busy, you are wasting your life. So, on your third day of freedom, you decide to read a book in the middle of the afternoon. You sit down, the house is quiet, and suddenly a voice in your head says, "You should be doing something. You should be working on your resume. You should be cleaning the house." You feel dirty. You feel like you're playing hooky from school and the principal is going to catch you. This is the corporate programming. It is a lie. Rest is not lazy. Rest is a biological necessity. You cannot build a new life on a foundation of exhaustion. You need to decompress. Think of a deep-sea diver. If they come up to the surface too fast, they get the bends. Nitrogen bubbles form in their blood, and it can be fatal. They have to ascend slowly. They have to wait in a decompression chamber. You are in the decompression chamber right now. You need to give yourself permission to be useless for a while. Nap. Stare at the wall. Watch the birds. If the guilt is overwhelming, reframe it. Tell yourself, I am not doing nothing. I am recovering. This is active recovery. Just like an athlete needs rest days to build muscle, you need rest days to build your future. Who are you? Finally, we have to deal with the identity crisis. When you meet someone new at a party, what is the very first question they ask you? What do you do? And for years, you had a ready-made answer. I'm an accountant. I'm a project manager at TechCorp. I'm a vice president. That label gave you status. It gave you a place in the social hierarchy. Now, you don't have the label. You are just you. This can be terrifying. Without the external validation of a job title, you might feel small. You might feel invisible. You realize how much of your ego was wrapped up in your business card. This is the hardest part of the detox, but it is also the most beautiful. You get to discover who you are when you're not being paid to be someone else. You are not your job. You are not your salary. You are a friend, you are a partner, a creator, a thinker, a traveler. You are a complex human being with interests and values that have nothing to do with quarterly earnings. Start introducing yourself differently. When someone asks, "What do you do?" don't tell them your past job. Tell them what you're excited about. I'm taking time to travel. I'm building a consulting business. I'm writing a book. I'm figuring out my next adventure. Own the transition. This detox phase usually lasts about 2 to 4 weeks. It's a turbulent time. You will have days where you feel like a genius for quitting, and days where you feel like a failure. Ride the waves. Do not judge your emotions. Just let them wash over you. Because once the fog clears, and it will clear, you are going to find a new kind of strength. You will realize that the safety you thought you left behind was actually a cage, and the uncertainty you were so afraid of, that is just another word for possibility. You have survived the exit. You have survived the detox. Now we need to make sure you never have to go back. We need to lock in the mindset of a free agent. We need to burn the boats so that retreat is not an option. In the final chapter, we are going to talk about the no turning back mindset. We are going to ensure that this resignation isn't just a break, but a permanent upgrade to your existence. Let's finish this journey.
There is a story about the Spanish commander Hernán Cortés. In the year 1519, he landed his ships on the shores of the New World. He was facing an overwhelming enemy and a daunting, unknown continent. His men were tired. They were scared. Many of them wanted to retreat to the safety of the ships and sail back home to Spain. So Cortés did something unthinkable. He gave the order to burn the ships. He destroyed their only exit strategy. He took the option of retreat off the table. His message to his men was simple. We either succeed here or we die here, but we are not going home. Now, I am not asking you to set fire to your car or your house, but metaphorically, you need to burn the boats. The biggest danger you face in the first 6 months of your freedom isn't starvation. It isn't homelessness. It is the temptation of the familiar. When things get hard, and they will get hard, you will feel a gravitational pull back to the corporate world. You will have a bad month in your business. A client will fire you. Your savings will dip a little lower than you like. And in that moment of weakness, you will find yourself scrolling through LinkedIn job postings. You will think, maybe I should just go back. It wasn't that bad. At least the paycheck was steady. This is the employee relapse. It's like texting a toxic ex-partner because you're lonely on a Friday night. You know they are bad for you, but you crave the comfort of what you know. To survive as a free agent, you need to adopt the no turning back mindset. You need to decide right now that the door you just walked out of is locked from the outside. Employment is a chapter, not the book. The first shift in this mindset is how you view your career. For our parents' generation, a job was an identity. You were a company man. You worked for IBM or Ford for 40 years. You got the gold watch, and you retired. The job was the book of your life. For you, employment is just a chapter, and that chapter is finished. You need to stop seeing yourself as an unemployed worker and start seeing yourself as an active investor. You are the asset.
You are investing your time and energy into your own projects. Even if, in the future, you decide to take a full-time role again, you will never do it the same way. You won't be a subordinate begging for a paycheck. You will be a business of one negotiating a contract with a client. The moment you realize that you don't need a boss to survive, the power dynamic shifts forever. You become unfireable because you know how to generate your own income. You know how to hunt. A lion doesn't worry if the zookeeper forgets to feed him. The lion knows how to eat. Curating your tribe. The second pillar of the no turning back mindset is your environment. There is a famous quote that says, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." Look at your 5 closest friends. Are they employees? Do they spend their Friday nights complaining about their managers? Do they talk about how much they hate Mondays? Do they dream about retirement as if it's the only time they are allowed to be happy? If you hang out with people who think like employees, you will eventually become an employee again. Their fears will become your fears. Their limitations will become your limitations. They will tell you to be realistic. They will send you job postings, just in case. You need to build a new network. You need to find other people who have burned their boats. You need to be around entrepreneurs, freelancers, and creators. People who talk about ideas, not people. People who talk about growth, not safety. When you are surrounded by people who are building their own lives, the idea of going back to a cubicle seems absurd. It seems like voluntary imprisonment. Go to meetups, join online communities, find a mentor. You need to normalize risk. You need to normalize freedom. When freedom is your baseline, you will fight like hell to keep it. Failing forward. Finally, we need to redefine failure. In the corporate world, failure is punished. If you make a mistake, you get written up. If you fail a project, you get fired. So you learn to hide your mistakes. You learn to play it safe. You learn to do the minimum to avoid criticism. In your new life, failure is not the enemy. Failure is data. You are going to try things that don't work. You will launch a service that nobody buys. You will write a pitch that gets rejected. You will lose money on an ad campaign. And the old you, the employee you, would see this as a sign to quit. See, you'd say, I'm not cut out for this. I should go back to the job. The new you, the owner you, sees this as tuition. You paid a price to learn a lesson. You learned what doesn't work, which brings you one step closer to what does work. This is called failing forward. Every entrepreneur you admire, every creator you follow, has a graveyard of failed projects behind them. The only difference between them and the person back in the cubicle is that they didn't stop. They didn't turn back. When you hit a wall, you don't retreat to the safety of the job. You climb over the wall. You pivot. You adjust. You try again. Because the worst day working for yourself is still better than the best day working for someone who owns you. You have burned the ships. You are on the beach. The only way is forward. You have the skills. You have the plan. And now you have the mindset. We have reached the end of the roadmap. But really, we have just reached the starting line. I want to leave you with one final thought, one final charge to carry with you into the rest of your life. Let's wrap this up.
Conclusion. The first day of the rest of your life. We have spent the last 2 hours dissecting the most terrifying and liberating decision of your professional life. Think back to where you were when you first pressed play on this audiobook. Maybe you were driving to work, feeling that familiar knot in your stomach. Maybe you were sitting in your car in the parking lot, dreading the moment you had to walk through the glass doors. Maybe you were lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling and wondering, is this all there is? You came here looking for a way out.
You came looking for a plan. And now you have it. We have stripped away the mystery. We took the vague, overwhelming concept of quitting and broke it down into a series of solvable problems. We looked the Sunday Scaries in the eye and realized they were a signal, not a sentence. We dismantled your fear using stoic logic, proving that your worst-case scenario is survivable, but your status quo is unbearable. We calculated your freedom number, turning your anxiety into simple math. We built the freedom bridge so you don't have to jump off a cliff. We played the HR detective, finding the landmines in your contract before they could hurt you. We timed the drop to maximize your bank account. We crafted the narrative, wrote the letter, and scripted the meeting so you never have to stumble over your words. We prepared you for the counteroffer, the awkward notice period, the exit interview, and even the emotional detox of your first week of freedom. The map is complete, the cage door is open, the lock is broken. But here is the hard truth I need to leave you with. I can give you the map. I can give you the compass. I can give you the supplies. But I cannot make you walk through the door. There is a dangerous gap between knowing and doing. It is possible to listen to this entire audiobook, nod your head, agree with every single point, and then go back to work on Monday and do absolutely nothing. It is possible to treat this knowledge as entertainment. You can use it to fantasize about quitting, to daydream about the moment you tell your boss, "I'm done," and let that fantasy be enough to get you through another miserable year. Please do not do that. Do not let this be just another book you listened to while you wasted your life building someone else's dream. The world is filled with people who are waiting for the right time. They are waiting for the economy to improve. They are waiting for a promotion. They are waiting until after the holidays, after the wedding, after the kids graduate. They are waiting for permission. They are waiting for someone to tap them on the shoulder and say, "Okay, you've suffered enough. You are allowed to be free now." I'm telling you right now, that person is never coming. No one is going to give you permission to quit. Your boss certainly won't. The economy won't. Society won't. You have to seize that permission for yourself. You have to decide that your time is the most valuable currency you possess, and you are done spending it on things that do not matter to you. So, I have one final assignment for you. I want you to go to your computer, open a blank document. At the top, I want you to type today's date. Below that, type the name of your boss, and then type those 3 magic sentences we discussed. Please accept this letter as formal notification that I am resigning. My last day will be, insert date. I will do everything possible to ensure a smooth transition. Save this file. Name it freedom.doc. You don't have to send it today. You don't have to print it. You don't even have to show it to anyone. But I want you to look at it. I want you to see it on your screen. I want you to realize that the only thing standing between you and your new life is the click of a mouse. It is that close. It is that real. Keep that file on your desktop. Let it sit there. Let it stare at you. Every time you have a terrible meeting, look at the file. Every time you miss a family dinner because of work, look at the file. Every time you feel the Sunday Scaries creeping in, open the file. It is your reminder that you have a choice. You're not a prisoner. You are a volunteer. And whenever you're ready, whether that is next week, next month, or right now, you have the plan to execute that choice with precision and power. You are the CEO of your own life. You are the architect of your own future. The roadmap is in your hands. Now go fire your boss and go find yourself. Channel outro, the next step. Listen, we just covered the complete roadmap to firing your boss. You now have the strategy to leave. But let's be real. Leaving is only half the battle. Staying free, that is the war. Once you walk out that door, you need to know how to build. You need to know how to scale your income, how to manage your own psychology, and how to construct a life that you never need a vacation from. That is exactly what we do on this channel every single week. We are building a community of free agents who are refusing to settle for the status quo. If you are serious about this transition, if you want to make sure you never have to go back to a cubicle with your tail between your legs, then you need to lock in to this signal. Hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on the notifications. Don't do it for me. Do it to upgrade your own feed. You want your daily intake to be filled with strategies for freedom, not distractions. You've got the roadmap. Now let's build the vehicle. I'll see you in the next video.